Yes, so welcome everyone. Welcome again to another Global Employability Expert Series webinar. I'm really happy to be here today. And let me remind you how this works. So we are now recording our webinar. So you can see this later on, or you can even subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find our previous webinars. You have the Q&A box below where you can ask any questions. We're going to have 10 minutes after the presentation to answer any questions, and during the presentation of the speaker, you can also leave your questions there. So, and we will answer them later. So, okay, so let me introduce you to our speaker today. Today we have Rafael Cabrer. A little bit about Rafael. Rafael works as team leader for the Command and Coordination Center at the INTERPOL Regional Bureau in Buenos Aires, INTERPOL, the international police organization. He will tell us about that. As someone who speaks 5 languages and has lived in different countries, he has always been exposed to a broad and unique array of opportunities on the international stage that underlie his commitment to improving the well-being of others via methods that stress international cooperation. In this presentation, Rafael will share the personal and professional journey that allowed him to build a successful global career in the field of international relations and led him to work for the world's largest police organization. He will also share tips on how to stay focused and motivated to achieve your career goals. So I'm excited to present the topic of this talk. Will be working at Interpol, the International Police Organization, how making the world a safer place became my professional career. So thanks, Rafael, and welcome. You can open your mic. Yeah, definitely. I'm happy to have you here, Rafael, so welcome to our webinar.
Thank you, Yuta, for inviting me. I am very excited about being sharing this moment with all of you, and I hope that my experience will inspire others to enter this world of the international organizations. So let's start. As Mute already introduced to me. My name is Rafael. I come from Argentina. I'm living in Argentina at the moment. I live in different countries, but I'm here right now. I'm based here in Argentina. I would like to share with you how I entered the world of international organizations, and more precisely, how I became team leader for the Command and Coordination Center at the world's largest police organization, which is Interpol. This journey was not easy, let me tell you. Let me start with that. But it was definitely worth it. And it was filled with remarkable experiences that made me who I am and actually brought me here. So I structured this presentation using 10 words. 10 words that I actually summarize this journey. And let me start with the first word, where it all started. So the first word is motivation. When I was a little kid, I was born in this very small town in Argentina. I was surrounded by countryside, where we knew each other, and it was very far away from big cities. So people there, as I said, we all knew each other. My family, I had 5 siblings, and my mom and my dad. When I was a kid, I didn't know quite much about what I wanted to do in the future, but I knew what I actually was curious about. And I was curious about knowing the world. I was curious about getting in contact with new people, meeting new people from all over the world. I knew that those people spoke other languages, so I wanted to learn those languages as well. I wanted to read. I loved reading. So I started just to focus on the things that I liked and enjoyed the most. Then the next step was, okay, so I know what I like. I'm a kid. I remember like being 8 years old and saying to my mom, I want to learn English. I want to learn English, because I knew that that was the only language that was actually taught there in my hometown. So in order to do those things, so I knew what my motivation was, but in order to do those things, I had to start somewhere. So that's why this leads me to my next word, which is determination. I was determined to do all the things that I liked, and I started with learning English. I remember telling my mother, Mom, I want to learn English, because I had no English at school. I never had English at school, not even in high school. So we found this private teacher when my mom took me, and I started learning English with her. She had lived abroad, she had lived in the States, and she was back in the town because she married someone from there. I remember I had the support of my family to do all these things. Actually, my students didn't want to do. I was the only one who wanted to do to learn a foreign language, who was actually reading all the time and learning about other cultures, about the globe. And I remember hearing, I remember saying, my mom saying to me, I don't know what you're doing, but I support you. So this was really important to me, obtaining the support from my family to do things that actually she didn't quite understand much where they were leading me, right? So I still remember after 1 year of learning English, I was already excited about meeting someone from somewhere else, from a native speaking country, like English speaking country, right? So I had this pen pal that I met through my teacher, and her name was Sarah. And I remember one day going to the phone, to a phone, like telephone booth, and asking the phone operator for the name of the number of the school where Sarah was going, because that was the only information that I had. We had never shared our telephone numbers. I just wanted to hear someone speaking with a native accent. And I remember calling the school and talking, asking for Sarah. And of course, they never put Sarah on the phone. But I was very excited enough to hear someone speaking from somewhere outside my town, outside Argentina. It was already enough. I had never left my hometown so far. But I remember again also going to my English class the next day and hearing my teacher telling me a story about how Sarah's father was concerned about someone calling his daughter's school, asking for her. I was like, and I remember saying to my teacher, "Oh, it was me, actually." And then I had to call her and apologize. And there was again another contact with someone from there, which was okay. I was 9 years old back then, but it all started there, and that was the first step to start meeting people from outside, Villaganians from outside Argentina. Then that was my first step by learning a language. Then I realized that I wanted to keep learning languages. And then after finishing high school, I wanted to enter the world of international relations. So that's how I started studying international relations in Buenos Aires. I moved to a big city. Buenos Aires is huge. It has over 10 million people. And it was also a big step for me to move into such a big city. And the first thing that I did was to continue studying new languages, foreign languages. I started with French. I continued with German. Also, while also studying international relations at university. So I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I wanted to do professionally. What I did know is that I loved learning languages. I wanted to keep learning about the world of politics and international relations, the connections between countries, and how I could do something for others. I knew that I wanted to work in the field of international relations in something that allowed me to help others. But again, didn't know what that was. So here again, I was focused on the things that I liked and I enjoyed doing. Again, foreign languages, the world of politics and international relations, trying then back at the end of my studies, trying to get a job where I could do this, help others and use my languages or use my communication skills. And But when I finished university, I remember that in my last exam, the teacher asked me, so what do you want to do next after you finish? And I had no idea. Again, I had no idea. And my answer was, I don't know. I just want to discover the world. I want to travel, and I want to speak languages. I want to meet new people. I want to know what other people do that maybe might inspire me. And maybe then I can decide what I want to do. And that's what I did. I finished university, and a couple of days later, I was in the street looking for a job. And this leads me to my next word, because this was not easy. Again, perseverance. So I remember being in the streets with my resume because I didn't know where to start. And I went to a couple of embassies and knocked at their doors with my resume and introduced myself and said, okay, I would like to work here. What can I do? And then they were like, okay, so this doesn't work this way. And of course, I didn't know. And I kept walking with my resume in my hand. And I ended up working at a clothing store. I didn't expect that after my years at university and speaking languages and the skills that I knew I had, that I was working at a clothing store. I knew that I was ready to work in the world of international relations and politics. And well, that didn't happen. But I was happy enough to have my own job, my first job. It didn't matter to me that much where I was, because that made me also meet new people. I learned new skills. And after months, actually, I got a new job. And this job was in the world of international relations. I was, after a job, I quit my position in this clothing store, and I started working for a 6-month project for a European governmental project that actually promoted study abroad. So I worked there for 6 months, and after 6 months, I had the opportunity to travel to France to work as a Spanish teacher at a high school outside Paris. So you might think, oh wow, Paris, incredible, that was all what you wanted, travel abroad and speak in a new language. But again, it wasn't easy, and it made me think what I was doing. I remember getting to Paris. I spoke French by the time, so that helped. But I remember moving 7 times in 10 months. I remember not knowing what I was going to do next after the 10 months. I was teaching Spanish, but I knew that I didn't want to become a teacher. I was doing that for the experience living abroad, and of course, taking advantage of improving my French and having the opportunity to work abroad. So after 10 months, I just was there, standing there saying, okay, what do I do next? I was 22 years old back then, and I thought I was ready, old enough to know what I wanted to do the rest of my life. But well, I didn't know. And sometimes I saw other people that actually knew what I wanted to do, and I felt frustrated because it was like, why don't I know? I've done so many things. I've worked already. I'm done with my studies. Why don't I know what I want to do? Again, what did I do? I just focused on the things that I liked, that I enjoyed doing. Again, and I like to repeat it because I repeat it to myself all the time, and that helps me a lot. And it is learning foreign languages, speaking, meeting new people, being surrounded with people from other cultures, and do something that actually has an impact in other people's lives. So then I was there and I said, okay, I learned German and I've never been to a German speaking country. So I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I would like to improve my German skills. I moved to Germany. So I moved to Germany and I live in Berlin. I joined a language school there, and I got a job at 3 clothing stores I waited there as well, a catering company. And then after months of improving my German, I think it was 6 months, I got a job at the Paraguayan embassy to work with the Paraguayan ambassador in Berlin, organizing the agenda of the Paraguayan president who was about to visit Germany. I had written during my years university a lot about Paraguayan foreign policy. So I this time knocking at an embassy door worked. It was a small embassy. I introduced myself. I said I was fluent in German, Spanish, and I said that I had written a lot about Paraguayan foreign policy, and if they were looking for someone. And fortunately, this worked. When the visit of the president was over, I also had to decide what to do next, either to stay at the Paraguayan embassy or maybe study abroad. So I decided to stay in Germany and join a master program. I studied human rights and I focused on children's rights. I thought that this would lead me to the world of international relations, especially some UN agency. So that's why I had already read a lot about how the UN works and other similar international organizations and NGOs work, and I thought I was ready enough already to enter this world, that I had the skills, the needed skills to do it. And with this master's degree, I felt myself qualified to do it. As soon as I started my master's degree, as soon as I started with the master's degree, I started to apply to a lot of agencies, UN agencies, other international organizations, and NGOs. I remember that as my focus was children's rights, I volunteered at UNICEF in Berlin, and I applied to UNICEF positions all over the world. Also to other NGOs such as Save the Children, Plan International, Amnesty International. So, but then 1 year later, I hadn't heard from them. So I was a little bit worried because my year in Germany, my master was coming to an end, and what was I gonna do next? So I hadn't heard from them. I didn't have a job. I was already done with my master's degree. And so what did I decide? I decided that I wanted to go back to Argentina because, I don't know, I felt that my year in Germany was over and I felt that it was time for me to go back. And my mom came to Germany to help me to move back. But the day, like 1 week before I moved back, I was packing. I remember packing because I spent 2 years living in Germany, and I get this call. Someone calls. I remember that moment. I was in my room. My mother was very close to me, and so I pick up the phone, and there was this woman behind the phone asking if I had applied to a position for UNESCO in Paris, and I said yes. And the first thing she said to me is, "Okay, before we have the interview for the position, I would like to know if instead of going to Paris, if you obtain the position, you can come to New York." Of course, I didn't know that, and I said yes. And I got the job. It was, again, a 6 months project. And instead of going back to Argentina, I moved to New York. I spent there 6 months. And after the 6 months, once I was working for UNESCO and the United Nations, I had the experience of working for the UN and writing this report on the importance of professional and personal skills for young people to succeed in their professional life. I think it was, for me, one of the most interesting experiences. Try to pass on this information, I would say, but also this important information, relevant information on how young people, after they they finish high school, what skills are necessary for them to just get a job and make their path through the professional life. Once I was, as I said, after those 6 months, for personal reasons, I had to go back to my hometown. And this leads me to my next word, adaptability. Of course, you might say adaptability has been shown, or you can see adaptability through all these experiences that I had so far. I had traveled the world, been everywhere, all these job experiences that I had. Yes, I think one of my virtues and I would say skills is adaptability. And I think it's a very important skill if you want to succeed in the world of the international relations. But this time, going back to my hometown, I think it was one of the biggest challenges that I had to face. When I left my hometown, I thought I would never get back because I was ready to travel the world and live in big cities and keep a work for big places. And then I was back again in this small town with 10,000 people, surrounded, living with my family. And I was 26 years old. And again here, I had to stop for a little bit, I had to take a break and think that there was, again, a learning opportunity to me. So I focused on things that I hadn't focused before. I focused on getting to know myself. I started with yoga classes. I started to meditate. I went for long walks. I reconnected with friends that I hadn't seen for a while. And I realized that my time is different from other people's times. And I think this is a very important lesson that I learned back then. Because as I was saying before, I used to compare myself to many people, to what the others were doing, if I was successful enough, or if the others were successful enough. And I realized that I had to make my own way without thinking of the others. I moved back after 6 months of living in my hometown. I moved back to Buenos Aires. I got a job at a German governmental organization promoting study abroad, this time in Germany. And I was one of the responsible for promoting the work of this organization. So that's where I improved my communication skills. I traveled all around Argentina. I was also working as a consultant for UNICEF in the field of education. I lived in Panama, working also 3 months for UNICEF. And then when I was in Panama, I had the opportunity to keep working for the international stage, for international organization. But then I decided I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to leave Argentina again, and I came back. And that was very important to me because there was a lot of people saying to me, everyone would kill for that job. And I said to myself, I don't care. I just care about what makes me feel good and what I want right now. I know that I have the skills to go back to the world of international relations, international organizations if I want to, but I didn't want that at that moment. Just wanted a little bit more of a stability before taking a new step. So that's how, when I went back to Argentina, I got a job at Interpol. And this leads me to my next word. So at Interpol, what do I do at Interpol? As Mirta already said, and when she made the introduction, I work as a team leader for the Command and Coordination Center. Before becoming the team leader at Command and Coordination Center, I work as an operations specialist. During my years of working as operations specialist, I pursued a new master's program, this one that gave me managerial skills to become a leader someday in any position that would require leadership skills. So I finished my master program last year, and when I was finishing it, I got the position as a team leader. What do we do at the Command and Coordination Center? Which is also, I think it's a very important question, because when I entered Interpol, I didn't know what I was going to do. And why didn't I know? And why was I even considered for the position if I didn't know what I was going to do and I had no experience in the field of security? Well, because of the skills that I had gained so far. That's why it was very important. As I said before, I didn't know where I was going, where this was leading me, but I always focused on the skills that I had and the things that I really liked and motivated me. And one of the first questions that they asked me in the interview was, they knew that I spoke languages, but they made me actually speak the languages during the interview. I forgot to mention, but I had also, when I was during my years in Buenos Aires, the last years, I also learned Portuguese. So this was an additional language that was also very appreciated during the interview. And they were looking for someone who spoke languages, because one of the most important skills, my job, are the communication skills. And I speak foreign languages all the time during my daily work. And the Command Coordination Center is the first point of contact of Interpol member countries when they have urgent cases to solve. So they would call us and they request assistance. For example, checking databases and arresting fugitives. I will give just an example so that you have an idea about what we do. So let's say the US calls us, telling us that there is a fugitive with a red notice, or with a Interpol red notice issued by Interpol located in, let's say, Colombia. So they request our assistance in publishing this red notice, because this red notice is not yet visible to member countries. So we would be, as this is important, because if this red notice is not published, the person could be released. And Colombia is in need of this document in order to arrest the fugitive with a view to extradition. So we would be engaging our legal department in order to go through, and together we go through the files of the person and to declare the document compliant. When this document is compliant, we share with both countries, and Colombia has the legal right to arrest the person and extradite this person to, in this case, to the United States. So this has to happen within a matter of minutes, in case, as I said before, the subject is released. So this is just an example of how an operations room, such as the Command and Coordination Center, works. So every day is different to us. Every day we have different cases and we have to solve different cases, but they have to be treated urgently. That's the most important. That's how an operations room works, and that's how we work. So as I said before, communication, that's why it's so important, the communication skills, to communicate not only with your team, but also with all member countries in different languages. So this time, a country, for example, Brazil, could call you and ask you to get in contact with a French-speaking country because they don't have someone who speaks French in their office. So we would be liaising with countries all the time, speaking languages all the time, trying to solve all the cases as soon as possible. I would go to my next slide, which is a next word, which is public speaking. I've always enjoyed speaking in public. Every time I had the opportunity, university, high school, my previous job, I volunteered to speak in public. And this is something that is required in my current job position. I train police officers around the world on Interpol's policing capabilities, such as notice publication, the use of databases. Before the pandemic, I used to travel around the world training police officers. Now everything went virtual and I do it online. Again, the fact that I speak languages actually opened a lot of doors to me, especially when I had to train deliver all these trainings around the world. For example, the last training that I delivered was for Brazil and Portugal, and Brazil and Portugal, that was in Portuguese. I delivered training also in French. I delivered trainings in Spanish for all Latin American countries, also Spain. From French, I delivered training in French also for African countries. So again, learning all these foreign languages helped me a lot to get this job, and actually made me enjoy this job every day, because actually I do what I always like doing. Now that's really important. And so the fact that for me, I'm now in the work of security, it doesn't mean that I will work in the world of security the rest of my life. I mean, I enjoy it, but that means that I'm acquiring my skills can actually lead me to any field that I want in international relations, as soon as I'm aware of the skills that I have and where they can take me. So I go to my next slide, which is very important again, especially for the work that I do, which is teamwork. So I work in a team of 9 people. So there is a coordinator, I'm the team leader, and the rest are the operation specialists who I have to lead every day. So when I start the day, I distribute the tasks of the day. Everyone has different tasks, and these tasks, they have to work, or they have to be coordinated so that the work can be done successfully. So I work a lot with the team. Now that we're working half of the time online, sometimes we go to the office. It was also a challenge working from home, because in the operations room, things happen all the time, and that you're talking constantly with your team. They come to your office. We're like in an open room. They come to your desk. I go to their desk, and so now I use the phone all the time. It's not the same, but it worked. So you get used to it. But it's very important to get the work done. And it's very important that we all get along with each other. It's very important because we are all different. In the room, we all come from different countries. I'm the only one coming from Argentina. There's one person coming from Sudan. There's one person coming from Brazil, from Spain, from Canada. So from all over the world, speaking different languages. So and I have to be very, very careful as a team leader how I talk to each of them, because they all have different personalities, different cultural backgrounds, and the most important is that, as I said before, that we work in teams and we are coordinated. So I'm almost done with the presentation, and I would like to highlight also the importance of networking in the world of international organization, especially when you work with people from all over the world, especially when you work for a big organization with a lot of units and departments. So you it's very important to be connected to them, because you never know when you're gonna need their assistance. I just would like to give an example what happened yesterday. Bolivia, the Interpol Bolivian office called us, the Command and Coordination Center, and they requested our support in trying to get in contact with Peruvian authorities. They couldn't get in contact with them. So I had someone in my phone who I had met during one of my trainings. And they had a fugitive at the airport who was about to be released if the Peruvian authorities didn't confirm that the arrest warrant was valid. So we got in contact, we put them in contact. The Peruvian authorities confirmed the validity of the arrest warrant, and the suspect was detained with a future extradition to Peru. So network, that is an example of how networking can work, right? But it can work in many other ways. But just to tell you how important it is and how important it was to me also to to facilitate the work that I do. And of course, it could lead me somewhere else as well in the future. The importance of diplomacy in the international world, and this was also important to me all through my journey of working at international organizations such as Interpol, means that you have to believe in diplomacy. And what is diplomacy, and how does diplomacy works within me? And in this, and I think that I have always believed in the world of international relations, and also in treating, I would say, treating people from all over the world in a sensitive and tactful way. And that is, for me, how diplomacy works. Because if you work at international stage, international level, you will always be dealing and treating with people from all over the world, from different cultural backgrounds, from people that think differently from you. And believing in diplomacy, it's a good way to work along with all these people. So, and this leads me to my last word, which is respect. And this is connected to what I said before, diplomacy. You, along your journey, you will meet people from everywhere, especially people that have different opinions from yours. And that is okay, because we can't think the same way that other people do. We have our opinions, we are individuals, we think our own ways, and it's good. And I think it's good to respect that as well. And being a good listener, just listen to other people, even if you don't agree to them, opens doors. Being respectful opens doors, and especially in international stage, international organizations. I would like to end this presentation with a quote that represents my journey and summarizes somehow, and is still very present in my life. So I would like to ask you, are you scared? Because I was scared most of the time. When I was in my hometown, when I moved to Buenos Aires, when I lived in all these countries, especially when I didn't know what I was gonna do. But that was good, and that is good. I'm still scared because we don't grow when we stay in our comfort zone. We grow when we go outside our comfort zone. And that is the biggest challenge, I think, for a person, but that is also the biggest learning experience. So thank you. Hopefully this has helped some of you and made you think about your own lives and what you want to do next. And if you have any questions, I'm here. And I think Mirta will also share my email address.
Yes, Rafael, well, thank you very much for this. It was very inspiring. I believe there's a saying that says, if your dreams are not big, if your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough. Right. And I believe there's a lot of what you said in this presentation, how many times you didn't know, you were scared, there was a lot of uncertainty, and you went for it. So definitely, I really liked the message. And yes, we have a question. Michael says, thanks for this wonderful presentation. How do you effectively manage your tasks daily, right? Especially because you have a very sensitive work and you have many things to do. How do you effectively manage your daily tasks?
Okay, good. So his name is Michael. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Michael, for your question. Okay, so the first thing that I do when I arrive in the office is to, as I said before, to distribute tasks. So we receive messages, right? So that you have an idea how we work. We are the first point of contact of member countries. So we receive messages constantly from all member countries. So you have got to think that Interpol has 194 member countries. And we need to, so one person is responsible for just giving importance to, so selecting all these messages and
prioritizing the messages.
Prioritizing
Yes.
these messages. So there are messages that are going to be more important than others. And of course, we will be handling those messages that are more important, more urgently than others. And then messages that are not urgent will be handled by other people from the team. So I will be working as a team leader with that person handling the most important messages, because I had to somehow guide them to solve that case. So for example, that case is the one that I gave, the example that I gave before with the US and Colombia, right? And then I would be, at the end of the day, all those important cases that were handled, they have to be reported. So I have to write a report on those messages about those cases and send, I would say, we call it checklist, right? And send that checklist with all those cases that were opened to senior management at Interpol. And there will be some cases that have been solved. There will be other cases that are still open, and they have to we will have to keep working on them. So we will have some open actions, we would say, for the next operations room, because there are, I didn't mention that before, but we are 3 operations rooms. So we are based in Buenos Aires, there is one in Singapore, and there is one in France. So we work the 24 hours, we're 24 hours, the 7 days of the week. So once we're done in Buenos Aires, we send this checklist to senior management in Interpol, but also to our team in Singapore, and they will be the responsible for following up, right, with the cases. And then when they are done with their shift in Singapore, they will send the checklist to France, and the team in France will be the one responsible to continue working on these cases until hopefully they are solved. So that's how an idea how we work.
Well, it sounds, what you're mentioning, it has a lot of, well, you need to, like you said, prioritize. Then you have a checklist of things that need to be done. It's also interesting that you work with other agencies that are around the world, which is also the case for many of us who work with different people and different teams in different parts of the world, and also for our audience, the interns who sometimes their host company is in another country. So it's interesting the fact that you say, well, I have to have a checklist and then send it to my other organization, which is in our case could be the host company or my supervisor who is in another country. So that's a good practice, definitely. We have another question, very interesting one, that says, what were the biggest challenges you faced with going to a foreign land? This is can you think of one big challenge? Because I definitely believe you have many, many challenges.
Yeah, many challenges. I think if you don't speak the language well of the other country where you go in, that is definitely a challenge. For example, when I moved to Germany, I had learned German, but I wasn't fluent in German. And I remember leaving the airport and thinking that, oh, I'm fluent enough in German. Now I can get whatever I want. And I remember just asking like a very simple questions. That was, how do I get to the bus station? It was something like that. And when they answered, I had no idea what they were saying. And that was, I think that took me 6 months until I actually felt comfortable with the language, learning every day German, right? When I had previously learned before in France and in Buenos Aires. So that is a big challenge. Then finding accommodation, that as I said before, that also was a challenge to me. So I moved, as I said, 7 times in 10 months in France, in Germany 5 times. So it just depends on what you're going to do. It's good also to understand how finding accommodation in the country where you go in works, because that can be an obstacle sometimes.
Yeah, and I have another question related to that. Someone asked also, with all your traveling to different countries and varied amounts of time, which you spent living in all these countries, some being quite short, some longer. Really interesting question. How do you maintain relationships with people? That's another challenge, right?
How do you what? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How did you keep relationships with people?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Yes, and actually, I could say that I made the best friends going through all these abroad experiences, because we are all in very similar situations when you travel abroad. I met people coming from everywhere when I was in all these countries who were in the similar situation, and that actually makes you closer to all these people. And it is true, it's not that I speak to them every day now that I'm back in Argentina, but if I had to speak to them, if I had to call them, and it happens that maybe I talk to them twice a year, which is I do it over email or the phone. I'm not in social media. That is rare nowadays, but that happens, and it was something that I was never driven to be in social media. So, but that happens over the phone and email. It's like I don't know. It's our relationship has never changed. They are there, and I know that I want to talk to them. They're there for me, and I'm there for them. It's of course going to be a lot of people you're going to meet, wonderful people who maybe you might not talk to them again, but that's how life works as well. There's some people that just are in your life just for a short period of time, and other people who are going to be there for a longer period, and other people forever. But they're always gonna teach you something, and you need to keep your eyes open and understand why they are there.
Yeah, and I think that it's important also to build networks in different perhaps particular spaces. Like there are many expat groups, or there's this international group that is called Internations. If you ever go to another country, you can always check Internations, and then you find people, foreigners who live in that country, but you also find people from that country. So you make sure that you can connect with locals, but also with other people that are in your same situation. And that creates an easy bond, you know, because you have some local that is open to people from abroad. And so they are willing to share their country, their culture, and you also meet other people who are in your same situation, perhaps at your master's or at your internship, and that gives you a sense of belonging, right? And you know, you have a short amount of time, but it's very intense, and you live it from another perspective. Yeah, we have another interesting question that says, what are the opportunities for law graduates in Interpol?
Interpol, I would recommend you. I don't know if you have already checked Interpol website, but I highly recommend checking the website, the Interpol website, because there are there are a lot of opportunities to do an internship there. Most of the internships are based in Lyon, in France, but they're constantly looking for people over the world who are willing to do an internship. So I recommend that. And there's always vacancies for other positions at Interpol. That's how I got. I mean, I got my job by checking LinkedIn. And I just found this position there. I applied and I went through the interviews, and then I got the position. So all the position and vacancies also for internships, they are the website. So I recommend you checking the website.
Definitely. Okay, so do we have any other question before we say thank you to Rafael? Something I really highlight from your journey, Rafael, is that, as you mentioned many times, you didn't know what you wanted concretely, right? You were like, okay, I know I like these things, which is already something super important. And although you didn't have a clear, concrete way of how your professional career could look like, you had some clarity on the things that you liked. And so that's a good way to build a career, because sometimes we have, if we know already what we want to do and we have like a concrete goal, then excellent, go for it. But sometimes, as in Rafael's cases, it happens that we are not sure. We know we have like a broad idea. We say, okay, I like languages, I like traveling, I like contributing and collaborating, I like cooperating with other people to make great things. I still don't know what a specific shape or job or career that will look like, but I know all these other things. And I think that your journey is a great example of how we can create a career out of what we like, right? And definitely embracing uncertainty, which may seem like you say, oh yeah, okay, but definitely you shared a journey that required for you at a lot of moments say, okay, calm down, okay, let's wait, it's not happening now, it will happen later, and I'm getting ready for that, for when that happens. And you said something really interesting too, which was like, I was aware of what my skills were, and that allowed you to be ready for the next challenge. So I think those are the key things that I learned today from you, Rafael. So I'm really thankful for you having shared your story today. Would you like to share your email? I believe it's in the slides you have there.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is there.
Yes. So here we share Rafael's email. If you want to get in touch with him, you can find him there. I believe you don't have many social media, which is rare. So I applaud you. We can also create a career without having so many social media. So, okay, we're going to wrap up our webinar today. Thank you so much, Rafael, for coming. I really enjoyed listening to your journey.
Thank you, everyone. And I wish you a lot of success in your career life and your personal lives as well. Thank you very much. And you feel free to contact me whenever you want.
So bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Have a great day.